Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of the Cat Chat, Creative Arts and Theater's very own podcast. My name is Troy Dalton Schaefer, and I am the chair of Creative Arts and Theater. So, you may be asking, what is Creative Arts and Theater? Well, I'm happy to tell you that Creative Arts and Theater is one of UT's most prolific performing arts organizations on campus. Consisting entirely of students from different majors, CAT provides a creative outlet for students interested in acting, directing, producing, playwriting, dancing, singing, stage production, drawing, painting, improv, and all other great forms of creative and performing arts. As a member of Campus Events and Entertainment, also known as E&E, CAT strives to provide quality, student-written and created performances to UT students for free. Some of our past shows have included the Broadway musical review, Evolution of Musical Theater, or an improv-based murder mystery show, Foul Play, at the PTA. Who could forget Open Mic Night at the Bourgeoisie, a showcase of student art, music, and talent? Mayhaps you know us from the infamous, the annual, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Shadowcast and Sing-Along, and last, but never, ever least, our annual Magical Dinner, which is a 5-act play with intermittent choir concerts, an improv break with the cherry on top that it is all accompanied with a 4-course meal. Events and Entertainment, which is the parent org for CAT, as well as several other incredible organizations, strives to provide a welcoming and open environment for students to fully express themselves, which is why we open up all of these positions to any UT students, regardless of their major. So now that we've kind of gotten over what Creative Arts and Theater is, what's the Cat Chat? The Cat Chat is a place for CAT members to just talk about any myriad of theater and art-related topics, as well as give full reviews of plays and musicals that are available online. Every episode after this will feature me, a rotating officer, as well as a committee member of CAT, talk about and just get into theater-related topics of the committee members' choosing. In today's episode, we're going to introduce our officer team, as well as have a discussion on where theater and the arts currently fare with today's ongoing COVID-19 epidemic. Now, as I said earlier, my name is Troy Dalton Schaefer, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm a senior biochemistry major and sociology minor, all the way from Virginia Beach, Virginia. So not only am I not a theater-related major, I'm not even actually a Texan, and I'm still able to be the chair of CAT, which I believe just goes to show that any UT student, regardless of major, location, anything, can join our CAT family. My future aspirations after UT, including becoming a doctor, maybe an anesthesiologist one day, who knows? I'm still young. But during my time at UT, I've been focused on holistic medicine theory and practice, especially just concerning holistic medicine and concerns to cancer, which simply put is all about treating patients with a mindful lens and seeing past just their diagnosis that made them a patient, but what could be causing some other issues that need to be looked at outside of just a hospital setting. My current plan after graduating UT next spring is to take a gap year to focus on my own mental health and evade burnout, while also working and gaining experience in the healthcare field. I personally have been involved with theater for 7, going on 8 years now, and with CAT, I've been here for 4 of those years, and I love it. Honestly, theater is just one of my favorite things in the world, and I am so excited to help lead CAT into this new online theater format. So, thank you for listening to me monologue for so long. I would now like to introduce CAT officers for this school year, starting with Maddie J. Lynch.
Oh, hey there, stranger. I didn't see you come in. Oh, me? Well, around these parts, they call me Maddie J. Lynch. What's the J stand for? Heh, I don't think you're ready to find out. Why don't I tell you a little bit about myself? I use they, them pronouns, and I'm in English, but sort of wanted to change to something else, but still not sure major. I think technically I'm a senior, but who needs labels, am I right? After college, I'm kind of hoping to just figure something out that will help me save enough money so my girlfriend and I can start the tiny house commune of our dreams. As for what I'm doing here, I'm the membership officer of Creative Arts and Theater, which means I'm in charge of member recruitment and retention and making CAT feel as welcoming as possible. This includes planning socials, making everyone play super fun icebreaker games at the meetings, etc. I first joined CAT because I was really alone when I got to UT, and 2 random CAT members approached me at an event and convinced me to join. After that, I joined Madrigal and absolutely fell in love with it and met all of my closest friends with whom I currently share a home. Oh, I also have the world's most horrible, smelly cat named Ash, Asher Dasher for short, and I could talk about him for hours, so I'm just going to cut myself off here and let the next person introduce themselves.
Thank you, Maddie. That was our membership officer, and now I would like to introduce everyone our communications officer. Take it away.
I'm Finn. That's me. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm technically a senior, but I'll definitely end up as a super senior English major getting a certificate in creative writing. While I cursed myself by getting a degree in a language I already speak, I'll be taking a job, any kind of job I can get, but I would really love to work on books for kids and teens. I'm serving as this year's communications officer, and I just do a bunch of different little fun management things to keep this org going strong. I actually knew about CAT before I came to UT because I had a bunch of friends who were already part of it before I transferred. And actually, it's part of why I applied to UT in the first place. I'm one of those ex-theater, ex-dance kids who thought I had to stop doing things I enjoyed once I got to college. And I was wrong, and now I have even more ex-theater kids and friends that I live with, including Maddie J. Lynch and Alex, but Maddie's the most important one.
Love it. Thank you so much, Finn. All right, next up, I would like to introduce to everyone Javier Lopez, our Leadership and Logistics Officer.
Hey everybody, I'm currently a third year with a major in international relations. I know, it's not very artsy, but it's something. So my pronouns are he, him, and I'm currently the Logistics and Leadership Officer for CAT. And basically the main part of my job is just creating opportunities for members where they can develop new skills and have leadership opportunities within the org, like being a director, being a producer, because anybody can do that in this organization. Now, as a transfer student, CAT was easily one of the most welcoming organizations that I've ever seen at this university. So that's why whenever I first joined, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And that's what made me to apply to be a student leader. Also, I guess in the past, I've actually directed some of the plays and also acted in some past productions. So this is a really cool organization.
Awesome. Thank you so much for introducing yourself, Javi. All right. Next up, we have the incredible Olivia Ham, our Budgets and Assessments Officer.
Hello, everyone. I'm Olivia. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a sophomore computer science major from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Although I'm not sure about exactly what I want to do after college, I'd like to pursue a career in software development. Even though it's not theater or art related, I thoroughly enjoy the arts, and I'm proud to serve as the Budgets and Assessments Officer for CAT this year. I found CAT through Magical last year, and I've been truly blessed by all of the opportunities that this org has provided for me. I cannot wait to be part of this amazing group of individuals as we strive to make this year as awesome as possible.
Thank you so much, Olivia. All right, next up I have Alex Donovan introducing himself as the Magical Producer.
Hello, I'm Alex. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a fifth year art and entertainment technologies major from Austin, Texas. Once I graduate and once the world looks a little bit more like it did before March of this year, I want to be involved in some kind of live entertainment of almost any kind. In my major, I am studying specifically lighting and interactive technology. And while I love lighting for live events, I would also love to do something like set and experience design for large-scale live immersive events. The two kinds of experiences that I'm most interested in are immersive theater and themed entertainment, so like theme parks. This is my fourth year in E&E, and I found CAT through the Magical Dinner. I've been involved with everyone since the 37th as cast, crew, production staff, and now, as Troy said, I'm the producer for the 40th. Any other year, I would be helping plan the show right now. We would be doing rehearsals, but since we can't do that and we can't have a traditional Madrigal this year, we're figuring out something that we can do to honor it instead. I've been doing theater since elementary school, and while I'm so glad that I found this org so that I could keep it as something in my life before I go out into the professional world where I'm most likely not going to be doing performance theater as a career. I love theater, and I specifically love weird theater. And even more specific than that, I love weird musicals. So that's me.
Thank you so much for that incredible introduction, Alex. Last, but certainly not least, we have Rachel Stone. Take it away, Rachel.
What's up, kids? I'm Rachel. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior RTF major from Houston, Texas, looking to pursue a career in television screenwriting and directing. I'm also minoring in American Sign Language and hope to become an interpreter when I graduate. Currently, I plan to apply to UT grad school to get a master's in education, and clearly my interests are all over the place, but there's nothing stopping me from pursuing all three, so I'm gonna. I am CA+T's Media Development and PR Officer, which means I'm the gal in charge of all of our fun social media and trying my best to figure out and execute fun, unique ways to transfer our super cool events online. I highly encourage you to check out the fun graphics I've been putting together for our Instagram page. Our handle is utee.cat, C-A-T, and I highly suggest giving us a follow to stay in the loop about all things cat. You definitely won't regret it. Also, please join us on HornsLink to see all the fun events we put on and the forms you can use to get more involved. Or, you know, maybe even apply to help me out with this new audio format. We're taking it on in this crazy time, and I'm going to make it work, just you see. I joined CAT in 2018 when I became the assistant director for our production of Rocky Horror Picture Show. And after falling in love with all the people and admittedly loving as an ex-theater kid, getting my theater fix, if you will, I couldn't help but become an official member and even go on to become an officer. It's truly the best decision I've ever made in my college career.
Amazing. Well, everyone, you just got introduced to all of the Creative Arts and Theater officers, and we are so happy to have you guys here. So, I would just like to thank everyone once again for introducing yourselves. I'd like to take this time, and now we're actually gonna switch out of all of that introduction stuff, and we're gonna have a fun little mini discussion on basically what's going on with theater and the arts during COVID-19. Now, when I say discussion, I mean more like just updating on different parts of the theater field. So video games, in person, like theater plays, filming, anything that falls basically into the theater scope is available for us to talk about. Now, I think talking about all these cool little ideas would really do great for everyone to get a nice whole little perspective on just what's going on in the theater world in the year 2020. I love it. Now, just so everyone knows, I asked all of the officers here today to find just any kind of article pertaining to our topic today and just be comfortable explaining and discussing it with us. I'm the only person that's read all the articles, so I am crazy excited for just a conversation in which we're all learning something together. So why don't here we begin. Our first conversation we're going to talk about is what's going on with Phantom of the Opera.
So it's me again, your boy, Maddie J. Lynch, and I'm here to talk about Phantom of the Opera. Now, I first heard about this story, I think from a podcast, and somebody was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there's like no theater happening right now, obviously, because of the pandemic, except for this one production of Phantom of the Opera. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. I hate that show and people won't stop talking about it. It makes sense for it to be the only show still alive during this pandemic. But then I read more into it. I know, I'm sorry, Olivia. I don't like Phantom of the Opera. And I know that this could get me crucified as a theater kid, but I don't care. I don't like it. Anyways. But it's actually interesting what they've been doing. So there's a touring company that is performing Phantom of the Opera right now. And sometime in March, okay, here's what happened. So around February, they landed in Seoul, South Korea. They landed
Great
in
catch.
South Korea. They landed in South Korea in Seoul to start their run of Phantom of the Opera there. And then this was like right when South Korea had become the biggest hotspot for COVID-19 in the world. So they're like, crap, we're probably not going to get to do the show. This is going to suck. So the article says, and this article is from the New York Times, by the way, the musical with its 126-member company and hundreds of costumes and props is believed to be the only large-scale English language production running anywhere in the world, and it has remained open not through social distancing measures, a virtual impossibility in the theater, either logistically or financially, many say, but an approach grounded in strict hygiene. So, like I said, when they first got there, it was like super crazy coronavirus all over South Korea. So obviously all of the cast and crew quarantined. And then they're like, okay, well, after quarantining, nobody has it. So I guess we're just going to go ahead and start doing the show. So yeah, basically they've just been doing the show as you would normally do any other theater show. Like, there's no social distancing, or it ended in August, but there was no social distancing in the theater. Everybody sat in the seats as they normally would. Everything's just super clean. All of the audience members had their temperatures taken in when they first came in. Everybody had to wear a mask. The theater was scrubbed top to bottom every day. The cast and crew had to quarantine and weren't allowed to be around anybody except each other throughout the show. But yeah, basically the show's been going on it was going on, sorry, I keep messing up. Show was going on completely normally, just with super, super strict hygiene measures. And I think and only one person ended up testing positive, and so they ended up quarantining again, but nobody else in the company tested positive. And yeah, they went on until August 7th just doing it like they normally would. And everybody thought that they would be like the blueprint for how live theater could continue throughout the pandemic. But as far as I can tell, unless anybody wants to correct me, as far as I can tell, like, no one else has done this. It's just been like this one production of Phantom of the Opera in South Korea, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, and I think it also has a lot to do with how South Korea as a country is handling coronavirus, because they have like a rigorous testing system, and like they're really good at holding everybody accountable. There's like a nationwide texting alert system to let you know if there's been an outbreak anywhere you've been recently, or if anyone you've been around recently has like gotten the virus. So yeah, that's what's been going on with Phantom of the Opera.
Don't think that they made the Phantom wear a full mask instead of just the half. I just feel like that would
No, everything in the show is the same as well. Like, no one on stage is wearing a mask. One of the cast members said that like he never realized how physical live theater is until they started doing the show in South Korea. And he was like looking on stage while they were singing and realized how much spit was flying around. He was like, oh my God, this is so gross. We're all going to get sick and die. But then they didn't. And like, there's still like a kiss at the end of the show, and everything is the same. The only thing they changed is that they took the first row of seats out of the theater to put a little bit more distance between the audience and the stage. But like, that's it. They do everything the same. And Andrew Lloyd Webber was like, good for them.
The only thing I can think about is just, first of all, you just can't kill Phantom. It's going to be around for another...
It's the longest running show of all time, and it's still going despite it all.
You can't
Lord
kill
knows
Phantom.
we've tried. We've
It
tried.
will never die.
Love never dies.
Love
I
never
was just
dies.
about
my
to say, isn't there a
gosh.
song about that? I've never actually seen seen like the movie Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
Like watch Phantom of the Opera. So it's like, wait, wasn't that a song?
That's why I don't like it that much, because the only time I've seen it was like a really, really bad filmed production that my sister showed me when I was in high school, and I was like, this sucks. And I've never been willing to go back to it.
That always
Wow.
ruins it.
Wow, talking bad about Phantom, first episode of the podcast, canceled.
We're going to
Podcast
I'm
is
gonna
getting
cancel this
hot take.
podcast myself.
Hot takes with Kat.
You just posted bad Phantom of the Opera takes. You're going to lose subscriber.
Seriously, membership plummets just because Maddie J. Lynch says that.
Talking about Phantom.
When the membership officer ruins membership because of their dislike of Phantom.
Listen, perhaps everybody hypes up Andrew Lloyd Webber too much, and maybe that's my hot take of the day.
That man did Cats. I mean, like, I know we're Cat, but like we're the
Like that.
superior Cats.
Yeah, I want to make that exclusively clear. We are called CAT, and we are a theater org. We have nothing to do with cats.
We are not affiliated.
Olivia looks very upset. Have I offended Olivia?
Okay, but the music is really good.
in Cats or in Phantom.
And all of it.
Okay.
In Cats.
Olivia is a Lloyd Webber stan. I'm so scared.
And School of Rock is just genius.
Rock does slap.
The music in School of Rock.
That one I can't argue with.
I do like the music in Phantom a lot, actually. In the very first episode of Umbrella Academy,
Oh, Lord.
Vanya plays a violin melody of all of the songs from Phantom of the Opera, and every time I listen to that, I'm like, God, I wish I liked Phantom of the Opera.
It's good that Olivia's here because we need somebody who's an Andrew Lloyd Webber stan to balance out all of these Sondheim stans that we have in
We
here.
can just like, we can sit down and Olivia's here to build it back up.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll forgive y'all.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for just telling us what's going on with the musical that won't die, Maddie. Amazing. All right. Our next little conversation we're going to talk about is Finn is going to tell us a little something about ballet. Tell us a little something, Finn.
Okay. So, obviously, we're doing this podcast because, like, almost every show except for Phantom is canceled. And this is on my mind because I'm, like, particularly mourning the loss of, like, every Nutcracker production ever that is, like, supposed to happen every December, as we all know, which I go see every holiday season. I don't know about you
I
guys.
didn't know that.
So, one company that is not just, like, limited to ballet has done a really great job at keeping the arts alive, and they are called the Royal Opera House. Obviously, I've never been. It is not in the US, but they have a YouTube channel that I've been keeping up with for like a couple years now. In the before times, they've streamed classes like that happen on National Ballet Day, rehearsals of shows, like trailers of shows, stuff like Tchaikovsky's Sleeping Beauty, to their own like production of Alice in Wonderland, which is really cool. They also film a lot of behind the scenes of their productions, which is anything from sewing sequins on a tutu to how they pull off the stage magic in Nutcracker. Lots of brief clips. So, like I said, needless to say, all of their shows have been canceled. Nothing is going to happen anymore. No one is sitting in the theater and watching it. That's done with. And as we all know, not just ballet and dance, but opera and other theater productions and just about a billion other things have been canceled all around the world. However, they're doing a pretty good job of keeping up the flow of content on their YouTube channel. So they've been posting a lot of solo and adequately socially distanced videos of vocal and orchestral performances, Zoom calls with professionals to discuss past and future productions, streaming at-home ballet classes, one in which Mary Holden teaches choreography from their production of Carmen, posting pre-recorded clips from rehearsals, in and out of costume, etc. They've also created this sort of movement in which they call #OurHouseToYourHouse, in which they practice and practice and performance is kept alive, unlike some other core companies that haven't taken advantage of the technological opportunities that we have, seen with COVID. And, it's a miracle that we have means of socially distanced synchronous classes in school. Do we like them? Maybe. But it's a good thing. And it's something I don't think we would have had access to maybe 5-10 years ago, at least. Anyways, according to a recent video, the Opera House has streamed 19 shows, 3 socially distanced live concerts, and online content that's been viewed by 206 million people in 183 countries. And in their video, they mentioned that they're able to do this sort of thing because of the support of viewers and audiences and other patrons. And one thing I appreciate about this is the accessibility of dance and other forms of art thanks to YouTube channels like these. I, like a billion other people, can't make it all the way outside of the US to visit the theater, to afford to see their performances, so on and so forth. Access to either a brief clip on YouTube or to an entire 3-hour performance is something that, although yes, everything sucks, but I'm pretty glad I have access to it. And so I did some reading out of an article by The New Yorker. It's called Dancing on Their Own During the Coronavirus Crisis, in which they discuss dance classes specifically for those already in a company or school. yes, Zoom ballet classes are hard. The whole point of ballet classes are for the teacher to like correct your execution from up close. And I'd imagine, I'm not doing a ballet class on Zoom right now, but I'd imagine it's pretty hard to see like the alignment of your neck and spine over one of those like tiny Zoom squares. But it talks most about self-preservation as a company, whether it be the New York Ballet, who's also doing a pretty good job, or stuff like restaurants, travel agencies, sports franchise, etc., etc. And if a company, theater, can't survive Corona, there won't be any jobs to come back to at the end. And more so, and I think we all know this, there's not that much public funding for the arts to begin with for anywhere. And the article mentions that this category of live performance faces some of the, quote, highest barriers to return on an activity. And they actually have this really good quote. I'm going to sum it up. Quote, before a vaccine or a cure for the coronavirus, people may be willing to get a haircut or buy a car if they can afford it, but will they be ready to sit in an enclosed windowless theater for 2 hours among hundreds or thousands of fellow audience members? Will opera singers be able to rehearse, propelling their breath across large spaces into the breathing space of other singers? Will orchestra musicians be able to sit shoulder to shoulder? Will dancers be able to share a studio for hours and hours as they normally do, or hurl themselves into their partner's arms at the end of a pas de deux? I'm not sure if everyone knows this. I'm sure you guys do, but there's a lot of spit and sweat and other bodily functions involved in performance, a la the opera.
Just spit everywhere.
Just spit. So
Amazing.
It's difficult. It's difficult for everyone, not just actors, dancers, musicians, artists, etc. And perhaps what's most difficult is the uncertainty of it all and the absence of normalcy in any performance routine. Instead of waking up at ungodly hours in the morning to do Pilates or attend warm-ups, many of the dancers are just doing anything but. From what I'm hearing, it's lots of sitting on the couch, etc., etc. But on the plus side, it's not as if all activity has stopped. And I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement about the thank God for technology during all this. Not just like, thank God I have Twitter to scroll through even though it makes me angry, or thank God I have video games to keep me busy for hours and hours. But like, thank God we have access to streaming and recording and sharing and digital interaction as a whole. And yes, me and many other interactions with companies like the Royal Ballet Theatre are socially distanced in classes, rehearsals, meetings are all limited to a little pixelated box in the corner of everyone's pixel screens. I know all of you guys can relate to this one, but at least we've got that going for us, you know? And like, shout out to the Royal Ballet Theatre. Maybe I'm just saying this because I'm a little ballet nerd, but I'm glad I get to watch Nutcracker on YouTube.
Tune in next episode for more spit discussion with Kat.
Spit, bodily fluid.
What bodily fluid are we going to talk about today?
Amazing.
That's what our chat is now. It's just us talking about spitting on each other.
So I know, Finn, you, I think this is going to be a common theme we're going to find today, barring Phantom of the Opera, and just that online content just seems to be the way to go for just anything theater art related, really. It's just, so it'll be curious to see, like, if this is continued after the whole pandemic situation, if that there's now always going to be an online content coming from like the Royal Ballet, Just, I wonder if they'll continue their YouTube after all this.
I mean, honestly, like I'm surprised that a lot of this didn't happen before the pandemic. I mean, just as technology and the internet as a whole has progressed so much, I would have imagined different theater companies or dance companies or honestly whatever taking better advantage of it, especially, you know, partnering with streaming services like Netflix and stuff. I mean, the production value would have been awesome, and it's just a whole new outlet, especially for people who you know, not everybody can afford to go to the ballet or to go to these like big nice shows, but making that accessible. And there's like been all this kind of discussion about just adding culture to society as a whole and benefiting it. Just the fact that they haven't thought to make theater as a whole more accessible until now, like during a pandemic.
But that's
just so interesting to me.
Exactly the issue. Like you said, Rachel, about how like theater is just something that like rich people get to participate in. It's like, not to be like, rich people, I hate them, but rich people said, we are going to be the ones who get to enjoy live theater the most, and we are going to make sure to keep it as exclusionary as possible. The only reason that stuff is becoming more accessible online now is because it's affecting everyone, including rich people. Like,
Right.
oh, we don't get to see theater? Okay, now we can see theater online. That's
Right.
fine.
I want to see
I've got
Hamilton.
Yeah,
I'm gonna see anything to see.
I want to
No,
see
like,
accessibility in theater-
Hamilton.
something that I'm really passionate about, and like I definitely think that like there's so many productions that just need to be so much more accessible, and like the recent upsurge in like filling live theater and putting it out there for people like we've seen with Hamilton. I think that the casting crew of the SpongeBob musical did the same.
Oh yeah.
And just like I want
Quality.
the SpongeBob musical is so good.
The SpongeBob
Unfortunately,
musical is
it
better than
slaps.
Phantom of the Opera.
oh my
I'll
god,
say it.
we don't
I
need to
love
get
Wow.
into that
put
discussion.
down
These are
Andrew
so-
Lloyd Webber, but we're like
wow.
SpongeBob. Yes. The
SpongeBob is
content.
not bad, but it is not better than Phantom of the Opera.
Olivia
You're killing
was
poor
so
Olivia.
distressed. Olivia was so
Anything.
upset.
Yes, like theater needs to be so much more accessible. We've had the technology for so long, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be doing it other than people just wanting to keep it as exclusionary as possible while also making a profit of people saving up hundreds of dollars to be able to come see their shows.
There's like the important thing to cover of like the accessibility of theater as a movie, a la Cats 2019 versus. a
We don't
live
know her. We do not know her.
No, listen. The stuff that we do get access to, not for free, maybe for like a $12 movie ticket or what have you, is not to say it's not great. There are some good filmed movie adaptations of musicals, but I'm not getting what I would get from Cats on Stage with Cats 2019 in
Yeah.
theaters now.
And people like to argue like, oh, but you get to expand the world so much more in a movie. That's not the point of theater, though. The point of theater is to see what people can do with a stage. Like, I know what people can do with movies. I can watch a movie. Don't worry about me getting to see movies. I want to see
Capability.
theater.
I get to suspend my disbelief already in film. I would like to see it applied to the stage, essentially.
I think like just like the craftsmanship of like of everybody working on it, and you can see like the production, like especially like those like really intricate sets and kind of stuff. It's so cool to see that because you're like, this wasn't digitally animated and anything like that. It was like
Yes.
made, and you're like, wow, this is crazy, and they had to pull this off, and they have to change scenes and all that and make things work. It's so cool.
It changes.
Yeah.
God.
Cats
Terrifying.
2019 has nothing on Cats the Stage Play. We know that y'all did CGI, like what, 5 different times? There are like 5 different cuts of the Cats movie of them just changing up CGI stuff.
Oh, I assure you that that's like incredibly common. Like anything with CGI, you're gonna have so many different cuts of movies, and like there are tons of movies where they'll have cuts where they completely change like the timeline and the format and just a million different things for a million different reasons. So yeah, but the fact that Cats was like 99.65% CGI, that'll
The only thing that was real was Taylor Swift.
She actually looks like that.
who
She looks like that.
who
Taylor Swift.
who
No, you don't do this to me. Olivia's gonna die about Andrew Lloyd Webber. I'm gonna die about Taylor Swift. That's the hill.
I just love. I know Taylor Swift. Okay, I know her.
I'm-
She's been
I'm
around for like a minute.
I know this man.
We are a little bit over 30 minutes into our first episode, and we said, you know what? Screw Android Lloyd Webber. Screw radio, television, film majors. Don't need them. Don't need them.
Hey, I worked hard for my degree on writing Kermit memes and analyzing Bewitched, okay? Don't tell my parents that's where my tuition is going, please.
Love it. All right. Thank you so much for that. Great. Just a little talk about ballet, y'all. All right. Next up, Javi, tell us about what's going on internationally.
Yeah. I actually wasn't specifically looking for something international, and then it just so happened that it was international. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And but yeah, it's talking about like theaters in London and just in the UK overall. But I mean, I think it can be applied to every theater anywhere in the world, honestly. It's talking about how with COVID, theaters are very like unsure of what's going on. and they're having to close down, and a lot of these like theaters are like super old and they're having to close down. And what they're saying is like we'll make it, basically, like we can make it to, you know, a certain point in time. But what they're more worried about are like community theaters, you know, those theaters that are really, you know, based in the community, that provide that artistic output that, you know, that a lot of communities value. Those are going to be the ones that are closing down and that people are losing sight of and stuff like that, which is really worrisome, because that's, you know, I remember like for me, seeing like community theater was like one of my first experiences of theater at all. And I was like, whoa, this is really cool. And then that brought me into the world, you know, kind of like what we were talking about earlier about, you know, it being theater kind of being exclusatory. Community theater kind of provides an output for people that are, you know, that don't have super high budgets or, you know, aren't professional actors, and it's really cool. But anyways, so yeah, they were saying like a lot of theaters are like doing different things. Like the costing department at the Royal Exchange in Manchester, they're beginning to sew masks for health workers, and the tiny Slunglow Theatre in Leeds, I don't know what that means, but has been delivering food parcels. Theatre Clued, it's CLWYD. I don't know. Theatre something. And they became like a blood donation center. And so they're like they're finding things that they can use their buildings for to keep them up and running, basically. But yeah, and so the government at the UK is right now pretty conservative, and they haven't really done much for the artistic community right now. And so it's kind of like before COVID happened, they cut their like complete budget by a third. And so everybody's just kind of like struggling to figure out what they're going to do. And they don't even know if they can open up, because they don't want to, you know, put a certain date or a certain timeline. Because if they do, like, and if something happens, then, you know, they have to push it back even more. So it's just a worrisome thing, and it's a whole cycle of everybody's like not sure when they can open, and they're not sure when they can even start doing rehearsals and stuff like that. So it's very crazy right now.
Just the whole world, huh? We just waiting. Let us back into a theater safely. I think it's good to note, Javi, you said that a lot of these old and like well-established theaters, it's really cool that at least these ones in other nations are like, no, we'll be okay. Like, we'll still be here when this is done. So there, at least that comfort level, I'd say, is there. It seems like a lot, especially for London, it's like, okay, this is just postponed. We'll get back to it when it's safe to get back to it. Which I know that's not really a thing happening in places in America. Things are closing for good.
Yeah. It's been very stressful, especially for like places that do live entertainment, trying to like survive during all of this, especially in Texas. We're struggling out here, boys. I don't know if y'all noticed. Y'all seen?
I actually, this is kind of going off topic from theater in London, but going off, I read an article recently here in the heart of Austin that like a 40-something-year-old comedy entertainment club just shut down for like good. And
wait,
that
which one? Was it? Wait, wasn't it? Was it Esther's Follies?
No,
No, that doesn't sound correct.
I thought I heard that, and I was like really, really upset.
Hold on, I'm Googling it. I have
Okay, please do. It's some like 40-year-old, like just an entertainment comedy club.
Cap City Comedy Club.
there it is.
Okay.
That's it.
Sucks.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was. We were driving through West Campus the other day, and we drove past
I'm
Hole in the
sorry.
Wall, and like the windows and Hole in the Wall are all like boarded up, and outside the marquee it says "Save Our Stages."
Oh, that's
Yeah, it's like super hard having to watch so many historic venues, like not sure if they're able to come back.
yeah.
So thanks, London, for being
Thanks,
for having the funds.
Thanks, London, for being like logical about this whole situation and like trying to take care of their arts. Ugh, what a concept.
Art, who needs it? We've got McDonald's.
So we just talked a little bit about Javi, just discussing what's going on with London theater. So now we're going to move on over to Olivia, who's going to talk about some more close to America home Zoom theater. What's going on, Olivia?
Yeah, so the article that I was looking at was specifically about someone in Denver. His name is Bradley Abeda, I believe. Sorry if that's pronounced wrong, but he's basically started like a group, I guess, like during quarantine, like in March, right after it all started, called the COVID-19 Theatrical Response Team. And so it's completely Zoom based. Like he researched which platform would be the best to use. And so he decided to use Zoom. So it's completely on Zoom. And so they put together a play, and every week they have a new play. And it's completely free for like anybody who wants to watch it. And so it started as basically just like a script reading of like whatever play they were doing, but it's kind of evolved over time. So now like actors will like set up like mini scenes like in their house or like wherever they are, and they'll like move from room to room. If they're like by the fireplace, they'll like light a fireplace in their house and stuff like that. So it's really evolved over time so that it's a lot more in depth than it was at the beginning. So it's a little more interesting to watch, and some people do that more than others, obviously. So it's just it's been really interesting to see like how that's been happening, and they've been saying that the actors themselves have been using like individual computers and individual Wi-Fi, and so like nobody can control that. Nobody can control like if someone has a technical glitch or if somebody's Wi-Fi just drops out and they just drop out of the Zoom meeting, because that happens. Like we all know that happens. So it was really interesting because they compared that to live theater. Like in live theater, like unexpected things happen on stage. Like someone doesn't make their costume change or somebody's mic goes out, and you just have to move on with the show and like figure out how to fix it. Well, similar things, like it's different, but it's like the same, where it's all live, so you're having to like fix things on the fly, but it's very different problems because it's all online and all like technological. So it's just interesting how there's like parallels in that. But it's because it's all online, it's provided the opportunity for people from like all over the country to be able to work together. So people who may not have been able to work together in shows before now are able to, because they're not having to fly to see each other or fly to rehearsal or fly to perform. They can just get on a Zoom meeting and go, or just hop on the internet. So it's very convenient. And then they've also been encouraging like more audience participation through like the chat in Zoom. So they've been encouraging anyone who's watching to like talk to other audience members, or just like whatever they basically want to do in the chat, so that they're actively participating and they're actively like engaging, and it feels more like they're a part of the show than just a regular like script read. And so then that's been a very like different experience for people as well. And so it is free for everybody, so like that's been nice, but they encourage donations to like a fund that they have set up, and the fund is to help like people who do theater for a living and who can't work right now. And so the fund is to help support people who are out of a job right now. So I just thought it was a very interesting way of responding to the whole pandemic situation.
That definitely is, Olivia. I can imagine like installing a crystal glass chandelier in my West Campus student apartments and filming Phantom. I think Kat does Phantom 2021, spring 2021.
Oh my gosh. That's obviously exactly what we need.
Mm-hmm.
Not only to, I don't even know. I can't even think about it. I can't even think about it. Stresses me out. Doing Phantom in person is stressful.
Just like, could you imagine just going from like your hallway to your living room, and like you walk through like a forest into like a forest clearing, and like that's the scene? That's very interesting.
Okay, but like imagine doing like, I mean, we should all know by now. Like there are some plays that are absolutely haunted, like plays and musicals. Like there's the Scottish play and everything like that. Like things are just inevitably going to go wrong. What?
Say
in
it,
your
coward.
own home, you can say it.
Absolutely not. You cannot make me say it. I will not do it. If you do not know what the Scottish play is, go look it
Look
up.
it up.
I will never,
Look it up.
in no context will I ever say it. But anyway, Finn, do not make me come over there. I swear on my life. Anyway, so there are so many shows that like maybe I'm just so superstitious when it comes to shows, but like that go so wrong in person. I can only imagine doing those kinds of things online. It would terrify me.
What's the worst a show has ever gone for you guys? What's the worst thing that's ever gone wrong?
We had a wall fall down on somebody.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
That's not good, definitely.
Could you imagine that happening in your own home though? Like
In
straight up
junior
just
high.
a teen wall?
What's a
Oh
line
my goodness.
Valjean?
That'd be unfortunate.
4601. Or it's
So I have, I guess, two stories in that regard. So the first would be in high school. I played Nico, the commander of the Flying Monkeys, in what is The Wizard of Oz. You know, the lead, obviously. But I was double cast, and obviously anytime I was on stage, I had to, quote, walk like a monkey. And they had me do that, excuse me, because at the time I played softball and was a catcher, so I was like used to being in this like squatting position. But because they'd have me run these scenes over and over and over with both casts, and I was in this position like pretty much running around in a squat, I ended up pulling muscles like in my thighs. But I was the only person cast, so I just had to keep going. So I like was running around with like just my legs were so screwed up by the end of that show. It was horrible. So like it didn't like ruin the show itself, but I was just so miserable. And then the other one was I directed this musical called Me and My Girl, which is like this old British musical. It's, if you know My Fair Lady, it's My Fair Lady with a dude. That's it. That's all it is. One scene where straight up an actor just did not come on stage for like an entire scene. And he had like to banter with the lead to lead her into a song. And he just did not come on stage. And I've never been more angry in my entire life.
Now imagine doing that at home.
Yeah, just like somebody not showing up to the Zoom call. And like a lead, not like an ensemble member. I mean like ensemble member.
Or imagine someone just like zoning out and you know that they're there, but they're like muted and they just like left.
Or just like not unmuting themselves, like not knowing, and somebody having to be like, "You're on mute." Like
if they go to the
Imagine,
bathroom,
like-
and if you go to the bathroom in your own home and flush the toilet and be like, "Bro, wash your hands."
Talk about audience participation.
Wash your hands.
Could you imagine that kind of audience participation? You're on mute. I heard your toilet flush. Wash your hands. The 20 seconds.
I am so thankful that like we all know that theater issues happen in person. I'm so thankful that that's continued over Zoom though. At least something regular is still here, and we mess up.
I really like what you were saying, Olivia, about how they were encouraging people like in the chat to talk to other audience members. That sounds like the perfect kind of theater for me because I can never shut up when watching anything. Watching a movie with me is impossible because it's just me talking the whole time. And then me and my girlfriend went to see a musical like last year, and I thought, okay, for sure, this is a live performance, for sure I'm gonna be good and not talk during it. But you know what I did? I said, oh my God, look at the costumes. The whole time I was just like,
Maddie, what's your problem?
I should not be
She
allowed to
didn't
go
kill you.
anywhere. Or
I cannot believe she didn't just kill you.
I deserve to be murdered.
something that I've been like, I know that a lot of people have been doing Zoom and like doing like social distanced Zoom performances, but one thing that I have that I saw recently was that a friend of mine was doing actually a live performance over Zoom with like a few people that they like all decided to like quarantine together before and after the or like quarantine before and then quarantine by themselves afterwards after doing the performance, just to like, you know, make sure of anything. And they actually like got together and rehearsed and then performed just like over Zoom, and anybody could like come and watch on the Zoom call. And I thought that that was really cool too. And like, of course, it's not like the safest option, but it's still like people just, it to me, it just shows like how desperate people are right now to just create while also sharing with people.
It's just like devastating because like I feel like everybody as a whole, I mean, obviously, especially we're students, we still have classes and this and the other, but I just feel like during this whole process in quarantine, people feel like they have so much more free time to create. But I mean, obviously there are different arts where you can, it's more personal, you know, painting, writing, whatever it is. But like in this specific context, we have all this free time to create, but we have to figure out how to make it work because it just, nobody knows what they're doing. At the end of the day, nobody knows what they're doing.
The new risk and reward system we got going on here.
It's just
Does the risk of quarantining with people performing and then re-quarantining after, is that worth it? We've never had to ask those questions before, and that's where theater is right now. It's how can we do this? Is it worth it to do this? And I think so thank you very much, Olivia. Zoom theater. That's an interesting solution. I'd like to move on now. We're going to talk a little bit about some opera with Alex. What's going on in the opera world?
Yes, so this performance was very like loosely opera. It really just comes down to the title of it. It's another piece of Zoom theater that people made very early on in the nationwide lockdown. It was actually done in April. So just like, and it was just put together like right when they started putting it together like right as lockdown happened. So that I think is another great example of like how just like the moment that this started, people were like, oh, I still need to create, let's plan something right now. So I'm going to be talking to you all about something called the Lunar Opera, Deep Listening. And it was originally done only once before in the year 2000. It's an opera experiment created by Pauline Olivieros. The opera was first realized in 2000 in a public space performance where each performer created a persona from Lunaris to perform as and decided on their own kind of sound that they would bring to the production. The book for the opera is not really a score, it's just instructions. Each performer creates their own character with costume and props. A performance area is designated, and each performer decides on what sound to listen for, and when the sound is perceived, it is the cue for them to perform. The same sound or another sound can be used to stop performing and freeze until the cue comes again. So it's just a large-scale performance done by people who decide beforehand, like, okay, I'm going to come into this as this character. They don't speak over the entire thing. I guess they can choose to speak if that's what they want their sound to be, but it's more just like making sounds, either with your body or with objects. Olivieros was not particularly, she was particularly interested in the idea of deep listening, in which one uses sounds not usually considered music, like footsteps or the hum of a ceiling fan, in their considerations while making music. Under quarantine, the University of Chicago's Gray Center, CalArts, and Opera Povera came together and planned in less than a month's time to reenact this postmodern piece over a Zoom call. Performers acted according to the rules set out for them in the original opera by Oliviera, and were allowed to break out into smaller rooms through Zoom or pop in and out of the stream whenever they felt was right. It was completely improvised. They didn't practice it beforehand. It was just 250 artists who were invited to be part of this Zoom call that was live streamed and people could just watch. And it went on for 6 hours. The performance took advantage of current technology that is becoming commonplace in many people's lives at the moment, since it was done over Zoom. Other musicians and performers have been streaming themselves over digital video sharing apps to share their art with audiences that currently have no choice but to forego live entertainment. So the original piece was heavily rooted in the idea of connecting with one another in a physical and spontaneous way. And the lunar opera that took place on April 7th was dubbed the Full Pink Moon Lunar Opera, after the full moon that was taking place the same night as the performance. The Full Pink Moon Lunar Opera was an opportunity for artists to connect with one another and to gather in a large-scale way that has become now off limits to everyone due to quarantining and social distancing. It took place over a Zoom call, and audience members were not able to have a direct impact on the work taking place. They were just able to see it live streamed. In total, it came out to 7.5 hours. So it's a big commitment to actually watch the whole thing. And it can be kind of hard if you're not like super familiar with like postmodern works of art, because it does not sound like music to the average listener's ears. It just kind of sounds like they said, a whole bunch of noises. Exactly. But I think that it's just a really cool performance for people to just maybe go watch like 5 minutes out of, just to kind of see like what it was like.
Okay, so you can't listen to someone chewing gum, but you can listen to a cacophony of just different sounds and non-music sounds?
Yeah,
What's going on,
because like, okay, misophonia means I hear certain sounds.
Isn't real.
I hear
Really-
certain sounds,
Really
and they're
great for Alex.
objectively bad sounds, but just like people humming and like making music together, I don't know, it's something different. It's not malicious to my ears.
I think I understand what you mean, because sometimes, like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like if I hear people chewing something really loud, that feels like you're trying to do something just to be annoying. Especially some people, it's like, I know you can be quieter than that, but if you're trying to make something nice, that's good to listen to.
Yeah, and they're probably genuinely nice sounds. Theoretically, if they're in this context, I would like to think that they're nice sounds. They're not random chewing sounds. I get that too.
Am I going to listen to 7.5 hours of it?
No,
Probably not.
But that's why I said, like, I would recommend everybody go listen to like 2-3 minutes of it, just to like, I don't know, see these people, because not only did they like come up with the sounds that they would be making, but they all a lot of them like also like put on costumes and stuff. So it's really fun to watch, because like, of course you can't see everybody at the same time because it's like over 200 people, but just like seeing the live stream it's fun, and you can see that like the artists are having fun with it.
Well, there's also a difference between like voluntarily listening to things. Like none of us are voluntarily like, let me go listen to this person chew. Like that would be.
Apparently people be watching those ASMR videos.
Oh, y'all are weird. I have no shame in telling you. I am sorry if you like ASMR videos like that. You go talk to somebody about that immediately.
This podcast is too controversial.
Got a lot going on here. A lot of personality in Cat.
Wait until me and Alex start talking about pineapple on pizza. Okay.
Well, I'm glad that's not a theater topic. That
would turn into the whole thing.
That reminds me of something I saw, I think maybe about a month or so ago, Alex. Just how you say like a 7.5 hour improv opera noise performance. I saw this. It's like this Swedish filmmaker, and I believe he's coming out with like a 31-day movie. What? And the movie, it's not really a plot. It's just video of anything really. But like there's like a 7-hour trailer, because it's like a 31-day movie coming out, I think next year. And that reminds me, just people just make art, man. Art is not just a canvas or on stage. Not even close sometimes.
Yeah.
People really do are trying their best to just make art whenever they can, especially right now. Like I said, like I think that people are trying to take advantage of this time that they have to the best of their abilities, which is kind of like heartwarming and comforting in this time, you know, especially in this organization, not to like plug within our own content, but like especially us as officers, we know when we're really getting our members involved with like trying to figure out ways to continue producing things and like getting creative with what we can do, and still trying to tie it to our normal events so you can get an idea of who we are. And I just think that it's really great that people are doing that in all kinds of arts contexts.
Agreed.
Troy, I just did more research into this movie you were talking about. Here's what it says.
Okay.
After more than 300 films, he puts an end with the premiere of what will be the longest film ever made. Ambiance is a 720 hours long, 30 days, and will be shown in its full length on a single occasion, synchronized in all the continents of the world, and then destroyed.
Art, man.
What?
But it's
Art.
like this. It's a 30-day movie, and I
And it's
think there.
airing on December 31st, 2020. So what a way to
So
just
if you
end
spend
this
January,
That was a
a
bang.
year.
just all January watching this 30-day long movie, that probably makes no sense.
Wait. Does the movie run? Wait, I don't.
It runs 30 hours for 30
Nope,
days,
it's
nonstop,
720 hours long.
Stop it.
nonstop. This guy's been
Oh my
working on
God.
this for like over 5 years now.
That sounds like a nightmare. I'm
this is like a
sorry.
five- this is
as
like
a film major, I made a 12-minute short film. It took me 5 months, and I've cried more in those 5 months than I have in the rest of my 21 years of existence. The idea of 720? Is that what you said?
720.
There's a clip.
What is it? What is it called again, Maddie? Ambience. Ambiance. Love it.
Yeah.
Art. All right. I think that's a really great transition into Rachel. We're gonna hear some about how filming's been going during COVID. What's going on in the film world?
Yeah. Anyway, my article. I read an article from Variety, and it was really interesting. It kind of followed one specific. I don't know. It was definitely like an independent film, but they were just discussing how they were having to continue production. And I'm sorry, mine is not scripted or put together as much because I'm much more conversational. I apologize. I don't have my act together as well.
Love it.
But it was just kind of explaining the processes that people are going through prior to production, even during production, just the idea of requiring COVID tests, and they pay for rapid tests like once a week, and everybody getting their temperature taken, like usually like the basics of it. But then, I mean, just for me, like I said, I had worked on my own short film while at UT, and they were discussing how they were having to go about filming and how few people they were actually able to have on set during production. And I don't know, it was just super weird because typically for any given scene, you'll have a minimum of like 20 people in a small space. It was really unique. At one point, I had actually had to like sit under a tripod to fit into this small corner with like 10 people to get a specific shot, and that just would not fly. It could not happen. And I mean, close quarters shooting happens a lot, so just the idea of having to limit the number of people that can be on set is terrifying, but it's what they're having to do. Everybody is trying to find these loopholes and trying to, you know, prioritize certain roles or like members of the crew for specific scenes or different instances, and you know, things like that, which also, in my opinion, kind of just like in reality could be a really unique thing to continue. I mean, not in the sense of like putting people out of work in the film industry, because films and television require all sorts of skills and all, you know, all hands on deck kind of thing. But just the idea of understanding, you know, people who need to be prioritized in certain instances, because I've also experienced a lot of situations where I worry that people's time is being wasted if they're called onto set and then they end up not doing anything that day. So I think it is really interesting to have read about all of the thought that they had to put into shooting on top of everything else they were having to do, just in the general sense of production, scheduling, planning, everything, like now having to factor in all of these safety and health precautions. Because like I said, I mean, taking temperatures every day, trying to limit the number of people in certain spaces, and constantly doing COVID testing, just, you know, this, that, and the other in that regard. And it just kind of got me thinking about how I personally would go about doing different productions in the future. That was my experience with this particular article. Like I said, it wasn't inherently about the film industry as a whole. I couldn't speak on larger production companies or any sort of films that are being produced by like quote bigger names, things that aren't inherently independent. But I mean, I would imagine that assuming they are still shooting, they'd be doing very similar things and taking similar, if not, better precaution.
I am very interested on your film knowledge, Rachel, especially as like a non-film person. And I know you just brought up filming movies, like non-independent, like we're talking about like blockbuster films here.
Right.
I think everyone should know Robert Pattinson is the Batman, and
What a
which,
man.
first of all, love. But anyway, I don't know if y'all know, but filming for the Batman was stopped in March, obviously, and it resumed in August. And then I believe it was like one person, we don't know who, obviously, because of HIPAA, and everyone deserves that kind of privacy. Someone on set, cast or crew, I think just like one person had COVID-19, and it shut down the entire production for 2 weeks. They stopped for 2 weeks.
I'm pretty sure it was Robert Pattinson. Like, I'm almost positive that he has COVID. Like, the person who shut down the movie
It is Robert Pattinson.
is Robert Pattinson. Like, it's not just like a random crew member. It's like
Yeah.
the Batman himself decided.
Batman has COVID.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
I think-
almost positive.
Well, just think, like, a year ago, if a movie just pauses production for 2 weeks, like that.
That movie's getting canceled. That movie's
Yeah.
not getting made anymore.
Exactly, like that.
Like last year, if a movie like had to pause production for 2 weeks, that's it for that movie. That's not getting made anymore.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on just film or how that's going, or have any other little anecdotes about it?
I had a thought that was like, if anything, I think let's look for the silver lining here. If anything, this pandemic is making us think more about like public health and safety measures. So like, I think hopefully a lot of the stuff that we're adopting now, like extra sanitation measures and like caring more about the health of your cast and crew, definitely, I hope it does continue over into
Everything ever.
into the quote unquote new world after
I
all
think
of
masks are going to be a part of American culture. Like, if someone feels sick, we're going to wear a mask now. I think just more people in general.
Well, I also think, like, unfortunately, like, working conditions in the film industry are, like, not always great. Long hours, you're around multiple people, you're frequently on call, you're just, there's a million different things that just kind of come with the territory. So I hope that going forward, the thought and care for crew as well as cast or just like higher production staff carries on just for everybody's sake. Like it's unfortunate, but like in all kinds of situations, working conditions or like treatment of workers are unfortunately not super great right now, and a lot of people have their work exploited. But I'm thinking right now they're having to think of everybody, for the sake of others. Like, even if there is a hierarchy and they're having to prioritize other people, in order to prioritize those people, they're having to think about everybody. And it's unfortunate that that's what it's taken, but hopefully that will just like carry on, because they'll see that it's not that bad to actually care about the people you're employing.
I mean, just look at the Ellen show. Ellen's under some crazy fire right now.
Oh my gosh.
So
I feel like
film world is changing. Film world is changing.
I feel like it's going to be harder to try and go back to the way things were, because people are going to be like, all of a sudden you can't stop caring about me now. You cared about me before. I got a taste for it now. You got to keep doing it.
Gotta keep being nice.
Try to give your cat wet food once, and then they scream for it for the rest of their lives.
He wants cat food. Okay. I know that we've been going through some time, so I would like to move to the last article, the one I read. And this will just be quick. I wanted to look up just what's going on in the video game world. That's still art design, creative thought goes into it. And so I think it's another really important caveat of just the theater world. And in the article, I had an article by the World Economic Forum, and I believe another one from Bloomberg. So I looked at a lot of finances in the video game world. And what's really funny is that the common theme we had throughout this whole discussion was that places are losing money. People are going out of business. Phantom of the Opera is still there, but everyone else, it is not looking so hot. Exactly.
Who?
You know what? Phantom will be there, but the mom and pop comedy shop won't. However, throughout all of that, video games, y'all. Video game popularity has been increasing for the past 30 years now, but I'd say even now since March, it has become even excruciatingly more relevant in almost everyone's lives. And this article that I was looking at, and by the way, all the articles will be posted below, so make sure you take a look if any of them interested you. But this one was talking about esports, actually. So a lot of people know electronic sports. I believe Overwatch is one of the world's most popular esports channels and competitors right now. And the whole thing is esports is being legitimized as a professional competitive sport, really. So while a lot of esports competitions in person have been canceled, a lot are still being able to continue in crowds of like empty stadiums or whatnot. But there's also esports competitions that are going on like on TV now, and that they're getting primetime TV spots. And that is just straight up legitimizing esports as a thing. So this article was talking about we are going to be seeing a lot more crossover with video games and technology into the common sector, into merch, into toys. We're going to be seeing even more technology. So I think that's very interesting. Be on the look for esports. I believe last year, what was it? Some kid won $5 million off of the Fortnite tournament. It's a real thing. People make money. So the other big thing about video games I wanted to talk about is, I know some people, especially in the officer chat, have tie-in with this, Animal Crossing. Let me just break the floor here, y'all. For
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
Nintendo Animal Crossing New Horizons. I have some statistics here right from Bloomberg. Within the first, I just want y'all to hold on to this. Within the first 11 days of Animal Crossing New Horizons dropping in late March, over 12 million copies were sold in 11 days. What? I can't even think of the number of million in my mind. 12 million. And a lot of these 12 million in just the first 11 days were mainly online downloads. And I even downloaded my version of Animal Crossing as an online order. And so that has still continued, and people are still online downloading games and whatnot. And recently we had the PlayStation launch trailer, and they showed, at the very end of the launch trailer, they showed the 2 new PlayStations. There's one that basically comes with a disc slot and one that doesn't. The one that doesn't come with a disc slot is straight up $100 cheaper. So it's encouraging people to buy games and not discs anymore. And that's just a thing of the past. And I think another big reason why that's happening is just, while gaming as a whole, there are more gamers and more people playing video games, but there is a supply and demand shortage that is happening in the physical world. Just about a month or so ago, Nintendo finally announced, okay, our warehouses are finally up and running. We can finally start expecting product to start coming soon. So that is where the video game industry's had hits, is making new game consoles or physical games. But in terms of online downloads, the world is never going to be changed. I just want to know, what are your thoughts on that?
I have so many opinions about digital downloads for
Oh,
games.
I bet you do.
Wait, can I say something really fast? Animal Crossing, woo!
Woo! Animal Crossing, we love it.
Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing, good. So, me and Finn were going to get, we had pre-ordered the physical copies for Animal Crossing, and Animal Crossing came out right as lockdowns were happening. And so we had a multiple day discussion of oh God, are we going to go pick up our games? Is it worth it to go pick up our games?
Also because GameStop was being a super corrupt company.
Yeah, GameStop was being GameStop, and we were oh God, are we going to go against all of the GameStop employees who are please don't come into our stores right now? Or are we going to just say whatever and get it online. And we did both end up canceling our pre-orders and just getting the digital copies. But like, just the fact that so many games exist now only in digital format is so scary to me, because that means that like the people who are letting you download those games on those consoles can also decide, actually, no, you don't own this game anymore, and just take it off. Like what happened with the Scott Pilgrim game many years ago, that they like, there was some like legal dispute over who owned what. And because of that, they took it off the game store. And for years, nobody was able to download it ever again. And they were like, if you downloaded it in that short amount of time that it was available, cool. If you didn't, you'll never get to play this game. And very recently, they did put it back up. Like, they figured out all the legal disputes and they did put it back on the digital download shop. But just the fear of like, this game, you don't actually own this game. Like, there's nothing physical about this game that you own, is so scary to me.
I feel like if we were to talk about this in movie terms, which like everyone knows movies, not everyone knows video games, it's the like paradox of Netflix in the way that like, yes, we are paying for subscriptions, but the existence of some of these movies is like entirely limited to a digital streaming service. You know, Netflix could die and we could never get access to, I don't know, Minecraft
The story mode.
story mode.
Yeah,
ever
what a
again.
tragedy. National tragedy.
I was just saying earlier, I would eat up a Redbox machine. Back in like 2012, that was the family outing, was the grocery store and the Redbox outside.
You're right.
To think about, because like I was going through some of my old stuff the other day and I found a bunch of like digital download codes that I had bought for all these different movies, and then I looked up that like streaming service and it straight up doesn't exist anymore. So I don't know how to access those movies that I bought anymore. So like that is a really scary thing to think about.
So like,
Also-
I would never get a digital download only PS5. Like,
If you have like accounts and things, like for certain things are backed up, but certain things aren't. So like on a disc, like certain things are saved, but like if your PlayStation or Xbox breaks, then like for some things you're just screwed.
Yeah, if my Switch kicks the dust, my Animal Crossing file is gone.
Gone.
But honestly, a tragedy.
Okay,
So there's new solutions and there's new problems to the new solutions we're making in video games, movies, Netflix subscriptions. It's all, let's see where we're at in 20 years, y'all. Could you imagine listening to this in 20 years?
oh God.
And just, wow, that was 2020, huh? It surely was.
I don't know them. I just
Gonna make,
I don't-
like coming of age retro films of 2020. Yeah.
Old school, man. All right. Well, I want to thank all of the officers so much for coming with just an open mind for some discussion about some theater during COVID and just introducing themselves to everyone in general. So now that is going to end our discussion today. I want to thank everyone so much for coming out, especially everyone that enjoyed our conversation. Be ready for more of these. I said earlier, all of the articles brought today will be posted in the link down below, so be sure to take a look. The Cat Chat, which you're watching now if you're here, is on the E&E official YouTube or Spotify account, and you're here now. Awesome. Definitely just know the other one exists too. If you're a UT student and you're interested in joining creative arts and theater, please join our HornsLink down below and get in touch with us. We'd love to have more people just seeing what's going on with creative arts and theater. All right, everyone. I can't wait to see y'all next time. Have a great one, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Troy.